It's us again. Hey, no, because you have to pay attention now.
Hello.
Do you know? Hey, stop looking.
And we all have to be noisy because we're further away than usual.
Wah.
Because we have to have 3 people in the shot this time.
Yeah, that was my idea.
It makes it seem like our couch is really long, but it's not.
We have, this is another Patron request. I don't have a DVD to show you because this is a Netflix movie.
It was a Netflix original, actually. Do you remember which patron asked? You don't, do you?
My memory is stupid and filled with trivia about
we'd be
Doctor Who.
Thank you, patron named so-and-so.
David Tennant was the first Doctor to not have blue eyes.
Really?
Yes, actually. I discovered that after I did my Time Lord video and someone commented it. It's a fascinating little factoid.
Look, it's Robyn the Minion.
Hey.
We need to have a crime. Think of a crime.
Having a twin and keeping it secret.
Yeah.
Secretly murdering people.
So, this movie, I want to get it out of the way right away. The production value is very good. And it was very entertaining, and I was, like, I guess the twist several of the twists quite a way in. But I have a flair for that, apparently. But, it had a lot of really, really good elements, and I really wish it had been a novel, because I really would have wanted to, like, you know, see a lot more of the world building fleshed out. But I'm really not sure whose political agenda this was. Like, I got the feeling there was someone's political agenda in here, but I was confused.
So, the basic premise is that world population has exploded to 10 billion. That confirms the number in it.
And this is 2370.
Climate change means that...
2070, sorry.
No, this was 30 years before that, so it's 2040.
Okay.
Climate change has happened and crops no longer grow. But there's these new genetically modified crops that grow anywhere.
Sure, it'll be grand.
Sure, it'll be grand. But they cause humans no longer to have singular children. It's all twins or triplets or whatever.
And also, like, horrific, like, deformities and crap.
So we institute one.
And a lot of them are deformed into looking like nummular rapies.
I don't know, I think the deformities thing was, like, false.
Yeah, because, like they said, on horrific deformities, we never see evidence of this.
Yeah,
so...
it's only in the propaganda video that we'll see that mentioned.
Although, we did see a dog in a couple of scenes, so that might be a horrifically mutated person.
I don't think so, it was a cute dog.
Cute dogs are horrifically modified people.
Yeah, see?
Dun, dun, dun.
So there's instituted a one-child policy, and then the rule is if you have triplets, the other 2 kids that popped out second and third are carted away by the government and put into cryo sleep until we fix the world. Aww.
And sure, it'll be grand, except as you've probably figured out,
it's not grand.
It's not really grand.
So this dude with very little context is standing in front of 7 babies and be like, "Oh no, she had 7 children. I can keep that a secret. That's fine. What are you going to call them all, sir? Oh, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Why not?"
And that person was Willem Dafoe. And I just have to get this out of the way right away. It's really weird seeing Willem Dafoe not be a bad guy. Like, seeing him, like, acting loving and caring, and you're like, oh, well, I believe that for some reason. I'm not sure why. I guess it was because he's a good actor, because every instinct I possess tells me to never trust Willem Dafoe, because he's always either mental, or a bad guy, or both. Just saying.
There's a rule in crime procedural shows. Paraphrasing it here, somebody's put it much better than me online somewhere, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Basically, if you see a face in an episode that you recognise, and you think, huh, they weren't in that much, yeah, they'll be in it more later. If there's like one person being interviewed by the police about this robbery, and it's like, oh no, I wasn't anywhere near that, and you're like, isn't that fella who's also in EastEnders or was in that film? Then yeah, he's coming back
In the
later.
advert, drinking the soup, you know.
So,
But, yeah.
on a completely unrelated note, Glenn Close is in the start of this. It is Glenn Close, isn't it?
Yeah.
Glenn Close is in the start of this in a wee propaganda video because she's running for government.
And she hasn't aged when she turns up 30 years later.
Yeah, that's true. Like, they're like 30 years later, they're using the exact same advert for cryosleep, and I'm like, could they not have, like, are people just okay with this? This is like the most classic advert. Like, oh, and there's the European Federation. So I really feel like this was some kind of, like, I don't know, like Scandinavian right-wingers fever dream.
It does feel like a very, very, very high-end evangelical film being paranoid about abortion and the EU.
Yeah, so basically, like, they need to institute population control. So they're all, like, everyone has a barcode and you have to get scanned multiple times and all this other crack.
But the barcode's on a bracelet, it's not actually
Yeah,
on
like
you.
on you, like that would be pretty cool. But like they're always like snatching secret children. But here's the thing: there's no abortion, or at least there's no mention of abortion, and so it's better to impinge on the rights of already young citizens by snatching them, putting into cryosleep, than impinge on the rights of citizens who haven't reproduced yet and have forcible sterilization programs. Okay, both are wrong, but one is more wrong than the other. See if you can figure out which one.
Yeah, it's like, if they're in this situation, and this situation is so bad that the government's happily going to do a Holocaust every single year, rolling on, to the end of time. It's so much more simple just to sterilize 80% of born children, when they're babies, choose them at random, and then if all the 20% are who have children are all having twins and triplets and stuff, institute a one-child policy, take 2 of the children or 3 of the children or whatever ones beyond the first one, and then you give them to childless couples.
Or
On the other side of the world, because apparently it's like a big international thing.
if somebody volunteers to get sterilized, give them special things.
Like $1 million.
I swear to God that I've read some kind of sci-fi like setting where that was an option. If you got voluntarily sterilized and you got your citizen level went up by 1 and you got access to better perks. Because I know a lot of people would be like, yeah, sure, I'm down.
I'm pretty sure early in the Nazi party they were offering that for Jewish citizens. It's like
Yeah, but without
you'll
the
get
creepy
on the-
eugenic part.
you'll get in the not bad Jew register if you get sterilized.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, sure. There's no way this could go wrong.
You get,
And it did.
for fuck's sake, give us 50 quid and we'll get sterilized.
Yeah, but, it would have to be more than 50 quid, though.
Do you know the best way to...
Because if it was, if it was laparoscopic surgery has a very low risk of surgical complications. But if it was not laparoscopic surgery, I don't know, I think more than 50 quid.
Testicular microwaves.
Yeah, but I don't have testiculars.
Well, then only...
Well, then you
Essentially,
take them off someone
only
else
one.
and you stitch them to yourself and then you remove them again.
For effective population control, literally only one of the accepted biological ways of reproducing, only one of the set of gonads needs to be removed from the population in general.
That's true.
So,
Okay, yeah, so sterilize 80% of the men. There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, it also doesn't matter because I'm above I'm technically, if I were to get pregnant, I'd be a high risk pregnancy, which my risk for things like Down syndrome, a lot of that kind of stuff would actually come
Down
with the
syndrome?
No. But the instance of that kind of mutation, I think it's no, it's not a point shift mutation. It's a replication at trisomy 23. I'm probably had that wrong, and someone will correct me in the comments. But that kind of mutation becomes more likely if you reproduce in your older. Just for women though, if your eggs.
I
get
think
too
the turning point for the statistics is age 28, isn't it?
Well, no, when I worked in health insurance, you were considered high risk after 35.
Oh, well, fair enough. I still got time.
No, not for men. You're not high risk. You don't carry a baby in your jet.
I have a partner
Okay, that's
who has an age.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
So,
You could be like Zeus and have like a calf baby.
So this plot, the general concept of this is pretty dumb. I got the feeling that when it was originally written out, it was meant to be
Your hair's wrong.
slightly different in that the 7 women played by Naomi Rapace were possibly 7 much younger people, so who could have been grabbed by the child snatchers and then burned. But if you're adults, surely you can't be killed for being an illegal child because you're not a fucking child anymore.
Yeah, but I think that it probably went through rewrites. I think it would have made sense if there was included a line of dialogue about how if you're an adult sibling, because they're called siblings, if you're an adult sibling, you'd be executed for like treason against.
that's not a crime you committed.
Yeah, but you didn't turn yourself in. But you didn't when you became of age. You didn't turn yourself in. If you turned yourself in, then you just go to cryosleep. But
It's possible that someone just had a collection of words in a hat, and it's sort of like Channel A type thing, and so he pulled out, naming convention based on the days of the week and paranoid thriller.
I think somebody just had a really good idea for a writing prompt, and then handed it over to a very bad writer.
Well, no, there were a lot of disparate sci-fi dystopian elements that I've seen in other things. There were a lot of good ideas in this, but it tried to do a lot, but it was still good. And the one actress did a really great job.
Yeah, she did.
So the way that these kids, or the adults, survive, because now it's 30 years later, is that they have this identity of Karen Setman, and they have a forged bracelet. And every day of the week, a different one is Karen Zetman. Mondays, Monday, Tuesdays, Tuesday. And their father, Willem Dafoe, raised them this way from the time that they were children.
See, this is another logical problem with it, because you got that. Okay, if so, they have the slight possibility of someone picking up what's going on, because every single Monday, every Friday, she's suddenly really good at electronics. Every Wednesday, she's suddenly really
I'm
angry.
sure she would act. Like, they have, like, a base identity that...
They have their personality, though, that goes through. So, and the fact that it's happening like clockwork,
Yeah.
if it was really clever, what it would do is some sort of a scrambling system, so you had that, and then like every
Mix it up.
2 months or so, the days moved
No,
forward
but they
one.
must have covered for each other, because in the beginning, Monday's sick, and then Wednesday says, I can do Monday, I've done Monday before. And they're like, no, you're grand. So I'm guessing there have been instances where one had to cover for another.
Yeah, oh yeah, I get that, but the
Because
fact...
they have this mirror that there's super high tech in this, by the way.
Yeah,
So the mirror tells them how, like, what's different from the base Karen and...
Yeah. Problems I have with the setting, by the way, is that it is so super high tech. Every building we see, apart from the government offices in this building, are falling apart. Black mold on the walls, everything looks like it needs washed down with bleach and repainted. Like, literal rotten to pieces, but all this super high tech shit everywhere, like thumbprint scanners, retinal scanners. It's like the
Like
worst.
the little, like, palm screen computer thing, and it goes away, and then...
But nobody can take a mop to a floor.
Mm.
And, like, it's just all depressing.
Well, that's what you get when you decimate classes and put everyone in cryo freezers. No one around to mop the floor.
So, the way that it's discovered bothers me as well. And I like to talk about things that bother me. It's really annoying. But the way that
What's
it's
the point
discovered...
of the Backseat critique then?
It's not that there's this massive studio apartment on the top floor of the building
Stop it.
that's big enough for 10 people to live in, has 7 people in it, but it's only registered as having 1 occupant during a massive housing crisis.
And right next to it, there's another equally big thing, which is completely empty.
Yep. It's not that every day they're bringing home like 7 dinners worth of meat and spuds and all the rest of it, even though it shows that her purchases are being tracked by like government check-up people and being like, yeah, that seems normal. Yeah, there's no odd behaviour there. But it's not that somebody's caught out in a lie or anything like that. There's no issue at all there. It's literally that one of them goes and volunteers information to save herself.
Because...
Are we doing spoilers at this point? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's a
let's
big
do
spoiler.
spoilers.
She gets preggers with her secret boyfriend, Monday does. And so she goes like, I want to have my babies. I work for a bank. Have 20 million quid towards running for government, not Anne Widdecombe.
Yeah, but then all she's done is put herself on the radar of the government guys who will grab one of her children.
Yep.
I mean, you know, the Nazi evil woman might say that she won't, but she will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why does she care?
Oh, that's why she's puking. I thought she just had the flu or something. It was this morning sickness.
Yeah, feel free to kill all my sisters who I've lived with my entire life,
Yeah,
literally
just
in a single room.
Just to save one of my children, when I could have had both of them by doing the same sort of shit that we did with ourselves.
Yeah, we're
Wow,
well
this is such a good
practiced at
plan.
staying under the radar.
Instead of having 9 relatives alive, 9 of us alive, there will just be 2. Good plan.
Good plan. So it turns out as well that instead of actually putting kids into cryo freeze, shock horror, the evil fascist dictator government has been murdering people.
Just incinerating them in these pods.
Literally, it's a pretend chiropod that's just a big incinerator.
And
But it like does this thing where it flips over. So while that one's being cleaned, you can incinerate on this, and you can flip.
And this is a very slow way of incinerating millions of people, of killing them. And I don't know if the film realizes this. The Holocaust wasn't a secret to the towns and villages near the concentration camps.
Yeah, people were like, "Oh yeah,
People keep going in there.
What are you talking about, Alex? Oh yeah, they kill people over there. They kill a lot of people over there. You can tell because the soot comes out the chimney. Can we go now?" And people are like, "What? Oh, I go check."
The fact that people come into this single building and they never come out again.
Well, because I guess they assume that they're being stored in cryo.
Yeah, but do they have a space for millions of people in these pods, which are in large rooms apparently?
Yeah. We're talking about a large city here, so it's meant to be super overpopulated, all the rest. So say 10 million people. 10 million people, say you've got an average, I don't know, many people of a breeding age. So female people, if we're going to break it down that simplistically, about 5 billion, or 5 million in the city. of a breeding age, say about 2 million then, getting pregnant at any point. Well, there seems to be shitty access to birth control. By the way, if your goal is population control, free birth control to the poorest people does that. And it's a lot cheaper than pretending to freeze people.
And all this covering up, and the fact that this, the Glenn Close, evil Anne Widdecombe, eviler Anne Widdecombe, Nazi Anne Widdecombe, is...
That's just Anne Widdecombe. No.
She is apparently being put on trial and going to be executed by at the end of it. That indicates that the rest of the government had no idea what she was doing.
Yeah.
Which is supremely unlikely.
Build, like, an entire... Because this was going on all over the European Federation, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of funding. Although, like...
It's a lot of staff involved.
Yeah. It's a lot of people who personally run incinerators.
Yeah.
Like, why has no one come forward?
The Bureau, as they kept being called, didn't like put their main branch of staff on this, only their special ops. And there was like an army running around the streets.
And yet they knew where the ones were living. They lost a team going in there, and they'd have left them there to mastermind the other one's attempts to do stuff when they could have just stormed the place again.
For like 2 days.
Yeah.
They like sent in a small strike team. That team got defeated, like, oh, better not try again until next week.
I have other priorities right now.
Wouldn't be fair to attack them on 2 different days of the week.
We don't have 2 snipers.
You know, actually, no, this sniper is called, like, the 1st of January, and his brother, the 7th of January, doesn't turn up till next week. This film, it looks decent. You'd think it's an interesting sci-fi concept, but it is really stupid and broken on every level.
But What's-Her-Face did a good job.
Yeah, Living With Her Face was great.
She was really acting.
I'm just confused as to why she was using her, or at least I assume it's her actual Swedish accent, considering it's set in a non-Scandinavian part of thing, and the only
it's set in Europe, so she could have just.
But the only contact with the outside world growing up was Willem
Dafoe.
Dafoe. So why does she speak English with that accent? She can do other accents, so why did she choose that one?
Because Monday really fucked up on her first day at school and put on a funny voice and came back and said in the nightly how the day went meetings where they go through every detail of the day to let the others know how to react around the people they've never met.
Like with cameras and everything.
Yeah.
Well,
But Monday done a funny voice, came back and said, oh, by the way, we've all got a Swedish accent now, and the other ones was, for fuck's sake.
Actually, that has happened in real life. Okay, true story. So, my grandmother, right, this was back in the early 30s, and she goes to school for the first time with her older brother. Now, they are the children of fresh off the boat Polish immigrants, but they were both born in the States. Their last name is Abramczyk. So, they go into school, and my late great uncle Henry says to my grandmother, you don't say anything, you let me do the talking. So they go up to get registered. This is in the Ridley School District in Pennsylvania. So he gives her last name as Abrams. And my grandmother says, why'd you do that? He goes, well, they'll think that we're Irish, that we're not Poles, and they'll treat us better. So their last name just became Abrams. To the point that my cousin, when she was getting her passport, it took her a really long time because her birth certificate legally said Abramczyk, but she'd been going by, like, the whole family went by Abrams.
Racists were equally stupid back in the 30s.
Well, no, it's because they ended up on the school district register, and the school district register was drawn from when they did the census.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that, the fact that you have to change, they felt the need to change the name just shows that racists are stupid even back then.
Well, no, but and anyway, my granny did end up marrying an Irishman, but the point is that, like, my Uncle Henry's fast thinking to save them from being discriminated in Ridley School District ended up changing the name of, like, their whole entire, like, descendants.
I wonder if, like, the people of Detroit collectively named their surname to Whitman, would it, like, really confuse the racists in the government and, like, sort out a lot of the city's problems?
If they're all called Whiteman?
Yeah, just like surname Whiteman.
I don't know, having an Irish county as a first name didn't stop an innocent black guy from being shot dead. Tyrone, aka Tyrone.
I am the Tyrone person here.
Yeah, I'm telling the audience.
What happened to Tyrone?
I wonder if there's any possibility that, like, you'll have Asian Americans in, like, 30 years randomly will start naming their children Berkshire.
Nah, for
That'd be really great.
It'll be for Mana.
Carrick Fergus.
You joke. I know a girl called Carrick.
Oh no.
But anyway, this is about what happened on Monday.
So,
I figured out the twist.
And the but it was a deeply flawed, though very gritty remake of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Say your witticism, because I said this during the film, and Robyn came up with a witticism.
I can't remember. There was more of a setup than that. It was like there was 7 brothers, but they burned 6 of them.
Yes, that's what it was. It's like fetus Highlander in the 127th trimester. There can be only one sibling.
They got pen knives inside the woman. The mother has to shit
The
them out.
oldest one has to live. So this means that I'm the
Well,
oldest.
has to swallow the pen knives for them to fight with.
Well, it was good. It was entertaining.
It was entertaining.
The quickening is terrible with fetuses fighting Highlander style. It comes in a form of diarrhea and electrocution at the same time.
I like to think of it not more like a Highlander, but more like sort of an Olympic race. Who can get to the cervix first?
There's no swimming. It's not how it works.
If there's sextuplets, there might be. I don't know.
This actually has a precedent, sort of. There was one medieval sort of dynasty or the country that had the tradition that the ruler has as many children as possible, and then after the ruler dies, the first one of the children to make it, and they're all sent to different parts of the empire. Then after the father dies, the male child who makes it to the capital first becomes king, and then the other children are murdered. And they're killed to make sure that they can't usurp power. I remember reading about that. That's a system that was held. I can't imagine it lasted very long because it doesn't sound very stable, but.
Yeah.
But it wasn't done with fetuses, which would have made it much more fun, because then you got the fetuses, preferably in 2 different concubines, kill each other through the mother's stomachs.
This is going to some really weird and upsetting places.
Fetuses punching each other. It's the
not
stomach is
monetizable for all audiences.
You know, if a pregnant royal goes on a boat or a ship, it's still the tradition that 2 boxes of British soil are taken with them. So that if they actually...
This sounds unlikely to me. This sounds like the sort of situation that existed, but I am my skeptical mind is wondering if this still happens.
I was reading up on it recently, and I can't remember the context of what made me look into it. But I was talking to somebody about
Are they vampires?
No.
Just in case if they die abroad? Or something?
No. In case they pop the baby out early, it has to be born on British soil.
That doesn't count though, because what if it's in international waters?
That's on British soil. They've
That's
got a box of British soil.
That sounds
not legal.
Someone look this up and tell us.
Google
This sounds unlikely to me.
Oh.
Google it. Although there's it's probably one of those things that they're I bet you didn't know that. How they're always coming out with these really long articles about, let's talk about everything that's going to happen when the Queen dies. And I'm that's just really morbid, but I read it anyway.
There's the myth that the George Washington statue in London was built on top of Virginia soil, so they didn't touch British soil. Apparently it's a myth. But the big question about that thing is, why is there a statue of George Washington in London? Because
he's so badass.
By British standards, he was...
A traitor.
He was a traitor, and...
an upstart.
By modern standards, he would be considered by the large British imperialist forces in America as a terrorist. So it's fine with George Washington having statues in America, but he probably shouldn't have one in London.
Because you want...
Plus he owns slaves, and fuck that guy.
Plus, because you want to kiss our president's ass, what these Theresa May does, so she'll be able to sell off the NHS to America.
Well, I'm fine with having... They have statues of JFK and Lincoln, and even of Reagan for some reason, and FDR, and so I'm fine with them. It's just Washington probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
As long as there's no Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon's Johnson.
He did that.
Yeah.
He pulled his dick out in a strategy meeting.
We were talking about that earlier. His behaviour was very similar to that of Louis C.K., except we don't remember it in that same context.
Yeah, one of my history teachers when I was in uni at Temple University told us that. He's like, you guys know that, right? We're like, what? He goes, they were telling, well, sir, Ho Chi Minh has captured this area, and Ho Chi Minh has actually captured this area. And apparently got so annoyed, he whipped it out and says, yeah, well, Ho Chi Minh doesn't have this. And we were like, what? And this man who was the graduate chair of history at Temple University was like, this is absolutely true, I'm not bullshitting you guys. We were like, holy shit.
Yeah, he called it Jumbo.
Apparently it was big, I don't know. I ain't saying I've never seen it, so.
You know who also allegedly had a really large penis?
Who?
2 other famous history figures from the 20th century, Rasputin and Charlie Chaplin.
I've heard Rasputin.
Probably. I didn't even know Charlie Chaplin was English until I heard a lecture about him.
You know the small penis gambit to get a libel, don't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that idea. Look it up, I'm not explaining it.
Yes. It's the internet, everybody knows all those
I
things.
think today I found out, did a whole video about it.
Yeah. It's fun. Anyway, back to what happened to Monday. Monday sold out all her sisters. 'cause
Monday's
she's
a cunt.
Bitch, yeah.
She killed off, like, you know, hot lesbian Namira Pace, but not the other hot lesbian Namira Pace.
Nerdy one.
Because there were 2 of them.
Nerdy Namira Pierce, who wears glasses even though the rest of them have perfect 20/20 vision.
And there is blonde ditzy Namira Pace. And there's another problem with this whole scheme. Siblings, even twins, quite often end up with different voices, different accents, with the same influences and things.
Yeah. There's also epigenetic. Their DNA would be slightly different on the methyl level due to epigenetic modifications.
I used to
Based
live
on
with a
the
pair of identical twins. Up in Derry, and you've all met them. But, like, I get that people had trouble telling them apart sometimes, but once you get to know them on a personal level, it becomes incredibly easy.
Yeah, I didn't know them very well.
They have different facial structure, blah, blah, blah. Well, like, I get that I was one of the few people who could do it on sight, but once they opened their mouths, everybody knew who they were speaking to. They were completely different voiced people. To my eyes, although, as we've established before, I see things strangely, they looked entirely different. Identical twins doesn't necessarily mean identical.
Yep.
Although William Dafoe did cut all their fingers off to make them identical.
Oh yeah, there's a part where the hero one that at the end, she'd gone out to go skateboarding and she falls and like severs one of the joints on her finger somehow, and so they all have to get their finger cut off.
Even though her finger got cut off in a very rough way, probably like grind it off or something.
Yeah, but like when he's
So he
bandaging it, I guess they're implying that he severed it the rest of the way.
He cut more off.
Yeah.
So like she got punished twice.
Yeah. And it's her that has the final confrontation with Monday, because Monday was the first one to have her finger sliced off by William. She's like, I'm sorry I made you lose your finger. She's like, what?
I'm expecting a porn version of this called Whatever Happened to Misty Monday. Misty Monday being a porn star. And then, you know, I'm guessing it involves a lot of sex.
Well, porn usually does.
Yeah.
We've watched
But
enough
maybe
of that
it'll be
together.
a shocking swerve where all of her sisters are having, like, you know, sex, you know, also playing Misty Monday. But she's off, I don't know, reading books about not having sex. It's an entire section of the library, probably.
No, she's Jilling at the Shark Week. Just like the next house, just Shark Week on. She's like, this is better.
You know that the president hates sharks, apparently?
Who?
President Trump apparently really hates sharks.
And stairs.
He told the porn star who wishes they were all dead and destroyed and stuff.
And
once this was public news, then Discovery Channel just went on a binge of tweeting Shark Week stuff. It was fantastic.
he also hit slopes and he went to Davos.
Is it the mountains?
Yeah, it's like a ski resort.
Oh. Here's the thing, is like people kept talking about that, but I kept hearing Davros, like from Doctor Who, so I don't know. But Patron, I hope this has been all of you dreamed of and more. Hey, what's the crime? What's the crime of the week?
So if you're going to like start a governmental organisation telling people that you're freezing people for later use and actually setting them on fire, do it with some sort of efficiency. I mean, at some point you're going to get a set of parents demanding to see where the kid's being kept or something like that, to evidence. And you can only put that off for so long, but like one at a time in an incineration pod is not efficient. Like, cut their throats and put their bodies in a conveyor belt. I don't care. There's easier ways to do it. There's better uses of time and money.
And electricity.
Yeah.
I sell that for a living. There's better uses of electricity.
Because this thing, they put them in the pod and then they blast them with hot air and then they just burn them so with enough fucking mutant fire that within seconds they're ash.
It's blue mutant fire.
There's a lot of fucking heat used there. So it's like, that's energy spikes like, whoa!
Yeah, they said at the start of the film that we're at a record level of use of fossil fuels and we're going to run out soon. Well, there's all your natural gas.
Yeah. At least chuck them into a fucking
and
volcano.
That's 30 years worth of burning children.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you can just chuck them into a volcano. You're in Europe, there's a couple around.
Yeah, the conveyor belt. Underground railway.
See, you guys, this is what happens when the European Union takes away your cryptocurrency and then stuffs GMO corn up your nose.
Yes.
It's going to happen, thankfully the UK, because of Brexit, is a land of unicorns, fucking rainbows. Probably, actually, literally. And it's all like, do, 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 do. We're so glad to be free of the euro. Oh no, this is a fantasy and actually England doesn't exist anymore, it fell into the sea. Ah.
But then all the babies are like carbon copy clones of Nigel Farage and they come out of the womb with a pint in their hands.
Death is preferable.
No. Let me finish.
Death is
Let me finish my
preferable.
pint. So, Patron, I hope this is all you dreamed of and more. Someone has to press the button.